So in today's Coaching Corner, we are going to be looking at the book called Peak, The Secrets from the New Science of Expertise. Now, this is written by Anders Ericsson, who is one of the, if not the world expert on peak performance, specifically in a variety of fields, but he's very, very strong on sports. And it's an interesting one because he asks questions. These are my notes on this book in the Coach's Corner. The main question he asks is, why are some players, why are some prodigies, why are some experts phenomenal in their field? It's a very interesting question. And the book is incredibly interesting because it explores this particular question, plus a whole bunch of other questions. And what I've done is I've written my notes about this particular book and why it applies to Petanque. So I'm going to read through these, talk you through a few of the different things. Ericsson spent 30 years researching this. He explored psychology, physiology, neuroplasticity, and neuroanatomy of these extraordinary people. What made them different? What made them the world's best? Now, I've been living here in France 6 months and I've been observing some of the world's best players, specifically recently in Montpellier, witnessed the Thais, witnessed the Madagascan players, the French players, and I spent a lot of time not only filming them, but also analysing them. What is it that makes them different? I was really curious, really curious, and I've spent an awful lot of time referring to this book and to other books, trying to extract the gold, trying to find out what it is, having little conversations with them. What do they do differently? Watching them rehearse their shots in their mind before they actually execute them, watching the calmness that they have, watching the presence that they have on the piste. These are all really different things than what the average player does. So to a certain degree, I became my own performance observation expert. So these players, yeah, they've got a gift. Some people say, oh, they're born with it. Oh, they live in France. Oh, they live in Thailand. Oh, their father was a champion. Their grandfather was a champion. Oh, they've got all the time in the world to play. And all of those things are true to some degree, but they're also myths. And I'm going to explore that here in this review of the book. So yes, they have a gift, but there's a big but here, which you've got to put in there. And this is a quote from the book. We are all born with this gift, and we can, with the right approach, take full advantage of this gift. So that basically says, yes, these are world champion players. They're amazing. They shoot everything. They point like demons. They're just phenomenally endowed with how they hold the ball, how they release the ball. But every single one of us is born with this. We just don't necessarily know how to tap into it. Some more of these notes will help you. This book is a blueprint. It's a blueprint for how each and every one of us can become a little bit better every single day. Applying 1% improvement things, different things like that. Watching, looking, learning, applying. All of these things will come to light. So you see, it's different in Petanque because size, fitness, strength, height, none of these things matter. Doesn't matter at all. It is one of the only sports where you have to have a very strong mind, you have to have a very strong work ethic, you have to have a very strong belief in yourself, and you have to be able to throw a ball. That's pretty much it. So elite players have taken advantage of what's called the human adaptability of the brain. They may have done this consciously, I think in the majority they've done it unconsciously. But the problem is with the normal everyday players, we haven't taken advantage of this human adaptability within our brains. Most of us don't understand it, most of us don't know how to tap into it, and most of us has never even really thought about it. So this is the starting point. This is the place where we know we can improve. And this little review, as we carry on, will help you to understand that. So don't be seduced into thinking that Dylan Rocher just has it. Henri Lacroix has it? What is the magical it? These are things that we're going to explore. So that was number one. We're born with this. Number two, naive practice versus purposeful practice. So a naive player will just throw a ball up and down a terrain. They will shoot them. They'll play a few games with their friends. They're just going through the motion, and they repeat this again and again and again and expect a different result. That's madness. That is absolute madness. Nothing happens. In the beginning, yes, you might see a gradual improvement, but then you get this stable part where there is no improvement, whereas purposeful practice is totally different. Purposeful practice is deliberate practice. It has well-defined specific goals. It's focused. It has the Pomodoro technique that I talked about in another video. It has feedback where people write down what was the results. They score themselves. And of course, it pushes you to get out of your comfort zone. Now in Petanque, that comfort zone, unlike say something like running where you have to stretch yourself and run a further distance, what happens in Petanque is you have to get yourself out of your comfort zone. You have to do different things that are not normal. So that could be shooting over the top of a ball. It could be shooting a ball that's 10 meters. It could be shooting a ball that's 6 meters if you're particularly happy with your longer game. This is stretching yourself. This is how to change the dynamics of the actual practice. So you can do this alone. It's very, very good alone. However, slightly better if you do it with someone else. Even better if you do it with a group of people. But there are limitations with that. I'll come on to that a little bit later. So, purposeful practice, deliberate practice, well-defined specific goals, focused, feedback recorded, and taking you out of your comfort zone. Number three of this secret in this particular book, homeostasis and adaptability. We've got to learn how to use adaptability to our advantage. The homeostasis is, again, the tendency to remain stable. So if we use a running example, if you just run 5K all the time, if you just shoot at 6 meters all the time, you have stability. You know you're comfortable with it. You're not taking yourself out of your comfort zone, and your game or your running or your shooting or whatever it is doesn't improve. When you embrace adaptability, when you constantly push yourself out of your comfort zone, you force your brain and your body to adapt, which then produces greater results. So I have a special thing called the school community that I've created, the Petanque Performance Academy. And the idea of this school community is to take the people who are members, and it's free, to take themselves out of their comfort zone, to improve their game, to feed them with knowledge like I'm giving you now, to work on different drills, different things. So you'll see that in my bio. The full link is there. You can join, it's free. There is a paid option, that's entirely up to you, but the majority of the stuff is free. I also have the membership on this YouTube channel, which I highly encourage because it's very, very reasonable. And in this membership section, I post really, really good videos. So enough of the sales, let's move on. Number 4, the neural circuitry in our brain changes with deliberate practice. Now, what in the world does that mean? The neural circuitry comes from noticing things, whether it's our own play, but more importantly, when we study the great players, the elite players, the Thais, the Malgache, the French, whoever it might be. Now, preferably, you study them live, in person. You come to France, wherever, and you go to a big tournament, and you watch, and you film. And then you can go back and you film it slowly in slow motion, or you slow it down when you're watching it, something on YouTube. You can deliberately click playback speed and slow things down. This is a remarkable tool. If you weren't aware of this, just look on YouTube. You can also slow down my talking or speed it up if you really want to. But this is great because you can watch things and you can sit there and you can analyze, and you can become really detailed and really analytic and really curious. What is it that makes these elite players the better? And the better that they are, the best in the world. Analyze that, become curious, ask really good quality questions. Why do they have that backswing? Why do they have that particular release? Why do they cock their wrists in a particular way? Is this a really hard shot? Bang! Is it a softer shot? Is it something that is of interest to you? And if it isn't, create that curiosity within your own game so that it changes your brain circuitry, so that it allows you to analyze your own game afterwards, because you can say, okay, I really like Philippe Cante. I like the way he conducts himself. I like the way he throws. I like the way his hands are so soft. I like the way that the ball just comes up and lands and rolls and finishes next to the jack. I like the way he hits the jack. I like his intensity. I like his determination. And you've got to analyze all of these things. Why is that player like that? And then see if you can replicate it in your own game. And if you can't, you just record it. You get feedback from your own feelings, from your own gestures, from your own style of play. Because if you particularly like that and you want to emulate that, you can, as long as you've got the right insights into what makes them different. Number 5, Malcolm Gladwell wrote a great book called Outliers. And in that book, he talks about 10,000 hours of practice. Now, if we apply 10,000 hours, that makes pretty much any of us that have been playing for, let's say, 5 years or more, we should be world champions because we've put 10,000 hours of practice in. Whether it's practice in a game, whether it's practice on the terrain before competitions, whether it's practice afterwards. But this is where the problem lies. 10,000 hours, it doesn't produce world champions. What does produce world champions is time that is deliberate. It's purposeful practice. Talked about that again. So obviously there are a number of things that you need to do in order to extract the gold. One of them we've already discussed, identify elite performers. That's easy. Pick one that you really, really like. Look at them, analyze them. Obviously that is the number one. Then figure out what makes them great. That's a little bit harder. Discussed that earlier. Here's the real kicker that will really help with your practice sessions. Create training sessions to allow you to do that. So you've watched, you've observed, you've taken things in. It's clicked in your mind. I see what he did. This is where the purposeful practice comes in. This is where the Pomodoro technique comes in, where I've discussed this in another video, where you spend only 20 minutes working on one particular aspect of your game. And you are deliberately focused on that particular aspect of your game. You do it for the 20 minutes. Then you take a break. You walk away. You throw your ball away. Go and get something to eat. Talk to someone else, whatever it is. And then come back for another 20-minute session on another aspect of your game. The fourth thing in this, maintain the trust. If you are saying, I am going to work on this particular aspect of your game, you have to maintain trust that it will improve over time. That if you apply the Pomodoro technique, if you apply purposeful practice, it will improve. It will not be instant. This is where the trust comes in. This is where the belief in yourself and in the work that you're putting in really comes in. And this is where the motivation comes. Now, motivation comes and goes. It wanes. It's here one day. It's gone the next day. And some days you just say, I really cannot be bothered to throw some ball around. But this is what you have to do. You have to maintain motivation. And all of these things, when you start to see improvement, you will find that motivation naturally comes. So, number 6. Throw my book away. The interesting thing with this particular book, Peak, is that when you adapt and you do all of these things and you implement all of these things, you improve yourself. You improve yourself as a player. You improve yourself as a person. And that creates the happiness and it creates the drive and the motivation to continue to improve yourself. Now, it's very easy at the beginning when you start and you're really, really down here, and then you see this upward trajectory as your game improves, as you begin to learn different things. But once you hit this homeostasis state where you're just staying exactly the same as you were last year and the year before and the year before, that's when you need to improve, and you need to introduce a kicker, something that drives you to get better. And this will to improve yourself is really, really important. So here's some very, very hard and fast rules, which a lot of people in Petanque will not like. There's no quick fix. That's the first thing. You can watch all of my videos, you can watch other people, you can watch champions, but if you do not do the work, if you do not practice with purposeful practice, with intent, you will not improve. If you just throw things around, if you're looking for a secret hack, if you're looking to buy a brand new set of bull that Dylan Rocher uses, or someone else has reviewed, or they've got stars and they've re-released the ATX, that's never gonna work. It will help initially. You'll feel different. You'll feel, I got new ball. Everyone's looking at them. Look at me. I'm hitting ball out of the park. But it does not work. Another thing, no one can do your press-ups for you. You have to do the practice. No amount of your teammates saying, come on, you can do it, is actually going to produce results. You have to believe. You have to actually do the work. You have to do your own press-ups. Sweat equity, the deposits that you put into the bank to say that you've done that work, that allows you to then withdraw when you're on the piste. When you're there at the moment and it's 12 all and you've got the final ball and you have to hit it, that's when you do the extraction. That's where you say, I've made the sweat equity. I've put the deposits in. Now it's time to hit that ball. Okay. When you mix the mental game with the physical game, when you mix changing your belief, working on your mental game, working on all of these different things, everything that Ericsson discusses in this book, how all of the very, very great people who are experts in whatever field, when you mix the mental game with the practice, with the purposeful game, with the physical game, you will 10x your result. That is the only real hack and the only real fix that I can give you. Number 7, recognizing patterns. Now, Ericsson discusses patterns in this book. He talks about the Poldark sisters. He talks about Serena and Venus Williams. He talks about the greats in golf, in tennis, in whatever, in using violins and training in any particular thing. And he talks about how people recognize patterns. So the great players in Petanque, they're great for a number of reasons. One of the things that they really, really do well is that they anticipate. They're looking for patterns. They're looking at what the opponents are doing. They're looking at their body language. They notice different things and they're preparing shots, strategies, 2 to 3 ball in advance. They're thinking like chess moves. If he does this, I'm going to do that. If they shoot this, I'm going to shoot that. If they point here, I'm going to point there. These are things that a lot of players don't do until after a ball has been played. And then they sit there and they go, well, do I shoot? Do I point? I don't know. What do you think, John? Well, I'm not sure. Ask Mary. She's been playing the game longer. Oh, I'm not sure at all. Well, maybe we should do this. That's not really a way to do it. The great players have put immense amounts of time into dedicated, purposeful practice and game time. You have to do the same. You have to have that belief. You have to have that strategy. You have to have the will to win and the will to improve. So a couple of myths. One of the biggest is beliefs. I can or I cannot. I am or I'm not. People say, I'm not a shooter. There you go. First belief. I'm not a high lob pointer. There you go. What you say is going to actually manifest. Here's the number one. If you play long enough, you're going to get better. Doesn't happen. I've been playing 43 years. I should be champion of the world, but I'm not. Other players, I spoke to an 83-year-old who'd been playing for 65 years. Very, very good player, should be world champion, but he's not. This is like people who say, well, I deserve to be good enough. I've put enough time and effort in. That's like saying, well, I'm 65, I should be rich. Well, I'm not. I know I'm not 65. Try harder. That's another myth. The more you try, the more you put pressure onto yourself, the more actual work and, unless it is deliberate, purposeful practice, the more you try to hit a ball. It doesn't actually work. It's a big myth. Number 4 in the myths, willpower. Willpower. Willpower is amazing because you can't generate it. You can't generate motivation. There's a couple of times when I used to do long distance running where I'd wake up and it was early in the morning and I'd look at the trainers at the side of the bed and I think, I do not want to run today. I just don't. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. And the same happens in Petanque. Sometimes I just go, I do not want to practice. I'm sick and tired of it. I just want to have a hack. I want to have something that's going to make me better. Doesn't happen. You have to cultivate that willpower. You have to find it when the days are too hot and you don't want to go out and it's baking or it's chucking it down with rain and you don't want to get wet. You have to find the willpower to improve your game. One of the things is we learn when we play. This is one of the biggest myths. You don't actually learn an awful lot just from playing Petanque. You learn from losing. You learn from deliberately looking and asking important questions. What did I learn from that loss? What did that team do that was better than me? What tactic did they employ that I'd never even thought of? How did they win when they didn't necessarily deserve to? So, a great one is getting feedback. This isn't necessarily a myth. One of the myths is getting feedback from lesser players. Old John down the club who's been playing all this time and he doesn't really win anything, but he thinks he's great and he just tells everyone he's been playing for all these years. A bit like I said earlier, playing 43 years. But at least I've got some insights into the game. At least I've put the time in. But John down the club doesn't really have it. It takes a lot of time to put effort into people. And we see the same with coaches in the game. A lot of the coaches, they have the greatest of intent in the game. And they'll tell you what a circle is and how to throw a jack between 6 and 10 meters. They'll tell you the basics of the game. But they don't really understand the internal aspects. They don't understand what it takes to become a champion player, to win a national, to win and to go to a European championship or a world championship. And there's nothing wrong with these basic level coaches. They are there to improve the game and help the beginners in the game. But to find an actual coach or maybe me, or someone who actually knows the game, you need to speak to really, really good players. But here's the problem with this, and here's where this is a myth. A really good player can give you analytical feedback on your game. And that's great. But they can't often explain what they do. And they can't often tell you what you have to do to go from here to here, because they just do it. Sometimes they don't actually know why they do it. And we see this in soccer when you get some of the world's best players and they're actually dreadful managers or coaches. And then you see other people who are less gifted. We take Jose Mourinho, for example, a reasonable player, but probably one of the best coaches that ever has been in the game. And this is where there's an interesting paradox. And you can see this with Petanque specifically. There's a lot of training camps where you go and you learn from world champions. And this is great. Obu does it. Plenty of others do it. But does it actually improve your game? For a lot of people, I would argue not. That's a tough one for people because you think you're going there, you're learning from a world champion, you should therefore improve. But just because it is a world champion, just because they're amazing, and this is not to knock them, I'm sure plenty of people do improve. I'm sure what they say is absolutely gold. But what happens is, and this is where the myth is, you can be told things. You can read every book that there is. You can watch every video there is. But if you don't understand and you don't implement, doesn't matter who in the world is telling you, whether they are the champion of the world or whether they're John next door. Makes no difference. So feedback from better players is important, but it can't be just anyone. So I encourage you, join the Petanque Performance Academy. Send me a video on that academy. I'll do an analysis for you. I'll come back to you and I'll say, I think you should do this. I think you should do that. Then you can decide, implement it, or nah, this bloke doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And I'm not saying my particular analysis are going to be brilliant. Sometimes it will help, sometimes it won't. But at least you're in a community of people who are really striving to improve their game. So create, this is the final one. This comes from Peak. It's a fabulous book. I'll leave the link in the description as well, so you can go and get it. It is a little bit long and it does go off on all sorts of tangents. So if you can extract the gold from it, that's very, very good. Create a support system. You don't have to join my academy, but if you do, I'd really, really like it. You don't have to become a member of my YouTube channel, but if you do, it'll be really good because I'll be putting plenty of other videos like this. But if you can create a support system, whether it's one player, whether it's your team if you play in triples, whether it is your club where you play, where you have a support system of people who have a similar desire to improve and who want to put in the work, that is really, really good. And that is the single biggest hack if you want a hack to actually improve your game. But it's got to be with the right people. They've got to have a positive attitude. They've got to be supportive. They've got to not necessarily be overly critical or judgmental, but they've got to say the right things at the right time. In actual fact, they're better off not saying anything, just observing, just writing things down, a little bit of feedback. Ah, yeah, Sarah, she constantly misses to the left. She constantly throws her ball this way. I wonder, is there a way that I can talk to her about that to see if we can change it? These are really, really good things. Plus, watch as many of my videos as you can. And if you like this video, you are going to love this one.